can Acala do to keep the parachain alive?
To figure out exactly the routes we want to go to. Not going to ditch it and make another one.
Okay.
Well, this is not exactly my thing, but everything back to normal. No one lost anything, unless you say it's Acala's fault, which is we asked for Polkadot to help, and Polkadot failed to help us.
Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Claudio and this is Cryptochain, and joining me today is Bryan Chen from Acala Network. He's here to talk about Acala. I know that you've been eagerly waiting to hear about this as well. We will be asking quite a few questions, and hopefully we'll be able to get the answers to them and clarify the situation with Acala right now, because we do understand that the community is very frustrated. So hopefully there will be less frustration after this interview. So Bryan, thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. First of all, I have to ask you, we'll get straight to the point because my community already knows what Acala is, what they're doing. You know, I've been covering this for a long time now. So I'm going to ask you about the AUSD repeg situation. I know this is a hard question. You probably got asked this a lot of times, but I mean, do you see a future with AUSD, or is that going to be removed altogether? Because I have seen that on the website, a lot of the links related to AUSD have been removed, but in the application, it's still there. So what can you tell us about that?
So we don't have. So firstly, I'm going to say we're not going to remove AUSD. At least we don't have plan to do so at this stage. But secondly, from a lot of things we learned in the past period, from AUSD itself, as well as other stable coins like the USDC off peg and DAI off peg before. And also, like MakerDAO, a larger of AUSD design is heavily inspired by MakerDAO. You guys probably already know. And then they have the endgame plans, so we different closely monitor the situations there. But basically, the conclusion is decentralized stablecoin is hard, but centralized one is there. But truly decentralized, super hard. So we definitely need to think more about it on how to do it, because the MakerDAO model is proven it cannot scale or cannot be decentralized. So this is a really hard problem that no one have actually solved before. So Maker, they have their own approach towards the solution, which is great. But we also need to think about what's the goal we want to achieve, and because there are some other stablecoin protocols that choose decentralization over scale, so which is good for them. We could go this way. We could also go other ways. There are a lot of ways we could go, but we definitely need careful planning and thinking, as well as discussions, to figure out exactly the routes we want to go to. Mm-hmm. But it's still we haven't made any conclusions on exactly how we're going to do, because Polkadot, as well as the Polkadot ecosystem and the foundation and substrate framework, is still evolving. The XCM is still the version 3 just coming out a few weeks ago. Well, it's not deployed yet, and then people are planning on the version 4 already. So there are a lot of new technology will be unlocked as well. So with all these things put together, we will probably need to spend some time to revisit the whole fundamentals of decentralized stablecoins and see how can we build the truly decentralized and scaled one for the Polkadot ecosystem.
Okay, so is your plan to basically rework how the stablecoin actually works, and then to get everything back on the website with a new model? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so we are thinking about it. Obviously, if the community have suggestions, ideas, please let us know. But we are considering the possibility of with refactoring the current AUSD, we're not going to ditch it and make another one. Okay. But it's possible we're going to gradually transition it into a different models. But again, nothing is decided. We're still on the drawing board page.
Okay, understandable. And what about the Kucoin situation? Do we have any update there? Because there was a discussion, I remember on Twitter early on when the issue first happened, the Kucoin CEO came out and said that it's the Acala that has to solve this problem. And then Acala said, no, we are discussing with Kucoin. So I can understand that there may be something that maybe you cannot discuss there. But if there is anything you can discuss, like, can you please explain, like, if you are planning to repeg on Kucoin, or is that going to be completely over now, or can we forget about Kucoin?
Well, this is not exactly my thing. Like, I am the CTO. I focus on technical side, and there is more of a different parts. So I don't really have a lot to think about that.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so you can talk about that. With regards to the exploits, aside from the AUSD exploit, there was also another exploit recently on Nuts Finance with tDOT. What can you tell us about that? Has that been resolved, or how come that happened? Do you know?
It's completely resolved. Everything back to normal. Like after a few days, I can't recall how many days. But everything back to normal. No one lost anything. The insurance pools from the Tiger protocol have covered all the loss, which is not huge. Yeah. So I don't want to make this too technical, otherwise only developer will understand. But essentially, this issue is overflow handling that goes wrong when we're doing the L dot to dot exchange ratio calculation. So actually, this is issue. When I was doing the code review, I discovered this issue back to, I don't know, when the code was being developed. But we had wrong assumptions that this is not a real issue, because this is the thing. When you multiply two numbers, on programming, everything have a limit. Like the software can only handle a number that is so big. And when you do a multiply of two numbers, when the number is reaching to the maximum, you multiply by another number, it will overflow and goes to some trouble state. We try to test with the maximum value and do a multiplication and let overflow, and the software handles it correctly. But in this case, it fails. It works fine when it's on the normal range. It correctly handles the case when it's on the super high range, but the bug happens on somewhere here. So this makes it harder to detect this kind of bug in normal tests, because when we do tests, we cannot realistically test every single number in the range, which is the huge range. So we usually do like normal range, super high range, and that's it. That would miss this one. The fix is easy. So we implement the fix and deploy the fix in like 2 days time, and then we supply the missing funds and rebalance. The pool is also the another thing about this is the Tiger stable swap pools. It maintains the internal state of the pool are performed using the correct exchange rate. So no one did swap with like ridiculous large or small rate. That makes things a bit easier because like no one actually lost money for the swap, so we don't need to compensate for those. The swap is always the correct amount.
Okay.
Yes, and then later on we correct the we fill the missing dots and correct all the internal state and make all the state match and fully resolve the issue.
Okay, and were you able to recover the minted dot as well?
So there are some amount of dot has already been transferred to Polkadot over XCM. So again,
so that's lost basically, no?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Cool, thank you for explaining that. Now, the next question is in relation to the referendum that you've got going on at the moment on Polkadot, referendum 119, which is for the Acala lease swap. I mean, it's not going well for you right now. It is failing.
Getting close to the finish line. Bang! Here comes the hacking hammer.
So what is the plan if it will fail, if it will get rejected? What can Acala do to keep the parachain alive, basically? Or will you be operating as a parathread?
So firstly, parathread is not a ready feature, so it's not an option. Secondly, that this is in some way have to be passed, because for a few reasons. So firstly, this is a bug in Polkadot. It's like their fault. So there is that if you only look at, like, you can say Acala is not great, you don't want Acala to alive, you can you can right now start a referendum to offboard Acala lease. If they pass, Acala lease will get offboard. On the other hand, for this particular, but if you want to do so, please make a new referendum. Like, if you host dots, that you could do this. I'm not saying you should, but in this particular motion, the goal is to fix something, restore the state, the incorrect state that causing by a bug in the Polkadot software or Polkadot runtime. In this case, that is like the party guy, they agree this is bug in the code. Then there is nothing to discuss, because like, unless you say it's Acala's fault, which is, this could be something you can argue, but I guess it's not really a case, something you can argue. But so there's only a discussion if Acala made a mistake, then you want to vote, say, should we do this extra thing to fix mistakes, or you should own your mistakes. Like, this is a valid discussion. But the thing is that now is that the Polkadot have a bug.
I understand. No, from my understanding is that we know that Polkadot has a bug, but it just seems to me like there is one specific whale who has like a lot of DOT, and they voted nay against you with a 3x conviction with a lot of DOT, and they basically, like, it's their way of saying that they don't want Acala to continue anymore. This is my understanding. It's not because they obviously know about the bug. I'm assuming they know. I don't know who the individual is or anything. But it just gives me that feeling that, given all the recent incidents that have happened with Acala, I think that they just don't want you to continue. So my question is more about, like, if you can't solve this bug because of this referendum not passing, and then let's say you try again and it fails again, what can you do to keep Acala's parachain alive? Or will you revert to parathread? What will actually happen to Acala's parachain if this fails? That's what I want to know. Like,
So firstly, it stays a really, really, really precedent if this failed, because of Polkadot bug, we had trouble. We asked for Polkadot to help, and Polkadot failed to help us. So this is a bad thing, because this similar thing happened before multiple times to many personal entities as well as parachains. That there's a multiple motions trying to fix this, and previously, if there's a bug on someone's fault, even validators, they get slashed because bug in the Polkadot software, and all this slash get reverted. So this will be a very bad thing, because now the thing no longer gonna truth. So I believe it's an incentive of every Polkadot people, not necessarily pretty much all the Polkadot, they should want to get those passed. Otherwise, this will be a heavy damage to the Polkadot governance. And secondly, Acala itself holds a lot of LDOTs. I think right now, like, something equals to 2 million each dot amount of LDOT. So if Acala is on board, if Acala is off board, then all this LDOT that is basically, because this motion is trying to force offboard us without any proper offboarding state. So every asset locked by Acala will be forever locked. Not necessarily forever, because it's possible to onboard us, but it will be locked.
Okay.
Until it's best interest of everyone here to make sure that those assets are not locked, and those LDOs can. We are considering implementing a feature to allow liquid staking assets to be participated governance. I proposed this before, but I'm not getting a lot of interest, so that's one reason we didn't implement it. But right now, it is possible to start a referendum on Acala and to use those LDOT to vote. Then we have 2 million dots there.
Okay, I understand. Cool. Okay, thank you for explaining that. Now I have to ask you another question, and this is in relation to the events. I know, and conferences. I've noticed that Acala, has not been attending any in-person events or conferences, and I'm assuming it's because of this incident that has happened and the threats that you've been getting, especially on social media. Like it's been witnessed by everybody, right? It's been very heavy, and it can't be easy on the team, right, to handle that. So my question is, like, how do you see, like, even if you continue as a parachain, like, will you be attending any of these events in the future? Do you ever see that happening, do you think, or what is your plan
No,
there?
we're still attending events, just not that much. And so the first thing is by attending events that cost money, and then especially when the country location is not next to you, and then the flight cost, for example, is going to be expensive, and we definitely prefer to spend time to doing the development rather than join those marketing events, which I'm not saying they are not useful, but at this stage, we are not on the stage of trying to say growing our market share. We're trying to improving our products. A lot of focus is because since the AUSD incident, we definitely learned a lot. And one thing we learned is that while we believe we're still on the top tiers of the software quality in the whole industry, there are a lot of things are missing. There are a lot of things we can improve to improve the code quality. So that's exactly what we're doing with build chopsticks, those substrate testing tools that is now used by pretty much, well, I kind of say all the parachains because I didn't ask all of them, but yeah, a lot of parachains. So we spend a lot of time just improving the process, improving the code, improving the foundations. So we at that stage we prefer to spend our energy and resource and money on those areas rather than to join personal events. So we do have joined some personal events when it's convenient for us.
Now let's talk about, we understand that Dan Reecer has recently announced that he left Acala to go and work for Wormhole. Can I ask, like, how do you find that is impacting the Acala team now that Dan Reecer, who's a well-known educator in the space and has been promoting Acala heavily, has decided to leave the team? Are you going to replace Dan? Did you already look for somebody else, or what is the plan? Are you going to continue without him in the team, or how are you going to do
Again,
this?
this is not really a my question, but yeah, definitely. But still, Dan is like then he joined Wormhole, and that is obviously a loss for us. But at the same time, exploring the greater, helping us to explore the more collaborations that we're working with Wormhole and building a lot of products and helping the Wormhole to bridging assets from the Polkadot from the other L1s, including Ethereum, Solana, other ecosystem to all the Polkadot parachains, not just Acala. We already help Hydrodex, for example, bridge a lot of DAIs and USDCs from Ethereum, and working with many other parachains bridging assets. So this is definitely another something we are collaborating on, and we are planning to release some new products on this. I can't give you a time, but the beta, we already have a testnet version ready, so it's just matter of review, testing, and then we'll be able to release.
And in terms of obviously the situation that happened with the Acala USD and the loss of confidence in the users and in the community in general, like, how do you really believe you're going to regain that confidence with people? Like, what is your plan to come out and say, look, this is the plan that we have. This is what we're going to do. We're sorry for what happened. It was an incident. Like, what is your plan going forward to try to bring back the community and the users?
Yeah, we definitely would love to do that. So again, a lot of things we spend is improving the foundations, the code qualities, and those kind of things to make sure we are solid. We're still doing this right now, and so all these things doesn't really have any external impacts because that we're improving the software, reducing the potential bugs, but to a user point of view, you don't see anything. So this makes us the harder to just tell people, hey, we did this, but you don't really see anything. Well, but we do, like, for example, there's a few things I can say is like, and with our improved software and tools, we're able to find like 3 bugs, I believe, and cancel Kusama runtime upgrade twice, and cancel Polkadot runtime upgrade once. So all this just because our efforts on the testing and tools. So they do already have a positive impact to the ecosystem. So we're still going to continue work on this area, and then we will. But we want to make sure the foundation is solid. We have already done everything we can do to make sure there's no bugs. But obviously, auditing helps, but auditing doesn't solve the problem because there's many projects that have been audited for like 6 times and still get exploded. So we're doing this. So we want to make sure everything is solid and safe before we just trying to do another push to expand, trying to regain talking to people, trying to expand, explaining everything, and then at the same time tell them, hey, trust us, we're safe now.
Cool. Thank you for explaining that. Now, I do need to ask you like one last question, and that's in relation to how long, given that this has impacted you, the bug, how long do you think you have to financially sustain Acala, and to continue development in terms of time frame? I mean, do you have like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? How much funding do you think you have to sustain and to not have to let any staff go and to continue development with the staff you have? Maybe if you could please tell us that. I know you're the CTO,
Yes.
but maybe you also know this information high level,
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely have downsides and reduce our spending a lot since the incident. And like one thing, for example, you see is we don't do a lot of travels to join a conference, and then at the same time, because we're building a lot of foundation the infrastructure level tools that is not benefiting not just us but benefiting the whole ecosystem. As so that's why at the same time we're also asking for Polkadot treasury grant for grants for all the developments that we have do for those tools. Like for example, ORML is the pilot library that is used by, again, I don't have the number, but probably 10 or 20 parachains right now. So the Polkadot treasury have already approved, I think 1 or 2 grants for us too, I believe. And we're also going to apply a few more for other tools for us. So those as long as Polkadot continue to support all our efforts to building those common good tools to help, and then we can at the same time using those common good tools to help us as well, then yeah, we can at least pay the salaries.
Now, I do have to ask you because there is a bit of a concern now that you said, you are going to look for funding from the Polkadot treasury. Anna L from Parity has commented.
Well, so we're not asking funding for Polkadot treasury. Kind of, but not exactly, because we spend a lot of time building those tools that is benefiting everyone in the ecosystem.
I see what you mean. Yeah, so it's the tools you're asking funding for.
Yeah, we're not it's not Acala projects asking for funding. It's those common good tools. Like it's the right thing to fund them, because why want to spend so much time to make sure they work with other parachains that has extra cost and time and resource requirements.
Right.
So if the Polkadot treasury is funding them, then we can obviously make those tools available to everyone. That will be have a greater impact to the ecosystem rather than just only for us.
But what about putting your efforts towards working on the Acala situation to maybe regain the peg with AUSD, rework AUSD, as you are saying, to restructure how it's going to be? Why are you switching your focus from that to working on these tools? What's the benefit?
No, so as I already said, those tools are designed to make the foundation more solid for testings and for improving the efficiencies for us to identify more bugs. We're already using those tools to identify multiple bugs on Polkadot. And then obviously we are using those tools trying to identify bugs in Acala. So So those are the so basically the goal is say build Acala with 0 bucks. And the goal have some requirements. One requirement is have those tools help us to detect bugs. And so we are trying right now. We are working on those tools, so we can use those tools to detect bugs in Acala. And
Okay.
we cannot just skip the stage to say, hey, Acala, then how?
Okay, I understand now. It makes sense. Cool. Thank you for explaining that. Now, I have a question in relation to, because you're mentioning funding, so it just reminded me that Anael from Parity has commented on a referendum quite a while back. I believe it was 2 or 3 months ago. And I remember reading that comment when there was some concern about overspending of the Kusama treasury right now. As you know, there is a problem right now with the Kusama treasury. There is obviously an individual who's defending it, known as Hakna. Everybody knows about that. But Anael commented something interesting. She said that Bifrost and Acala have both loaned Kusama from the treasury back in 2021, if I remember correctly from that comment, because I couldn't find that referendum now. But they said that Acala are meant to be refunding that back to the treasury. I believe it was quite a large amount of Kusama, something like 50,000 KSM, if I remember correctly. So do you know if that's still going to happen, and when is it planned for?
Really need to find that referenda. I don't have. I remember something, but I don't recall all the details in my head. I need to check that. But you really need to find the original referenda, see exactly what is being agreed on that referenda.
Yeah, it was something that Betty
So
requested in the early, I think it was 2021 that she requested it.
yeah,
There was
I
a
recall
reason for
something.
it, but I can't remember.
Yeah, so you really need to find that. And then I don't believe so. The funding is divided by into multiple parts. To my recall. So some part is to put into LKSM. So those part will be returned. Because they're putting LKSM.
Yes,
That is
exactly.
like
Correct. That's what it was for. Yeah, it was for
and
liquidity.
then there's some part is used for incentives. Which is never meant to be returned because they are incentive to.
So it will be returned then, that KSM, the one for the liquidity.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly the details, but like the funds are sitting there, can be returned at any time. It just matter like I'm not sure if the proposal have a date on return. I need to go back to check that.
Okay.
Yeah, but if that say, hey, we should return on this date, then we'll do it.
Okay,
I
perfect.
don't think this is the case.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate you coming on, taking your time and answering these questions. I know it's not easy because, you have been under a lot of pressure, but hopefully the community got more answers, at least from a technical perspective, because I understand that, there are other aspects that you can't talk about, such as the legal issue, between Kucoin and Acala with the repegging. So thank you very much for coming on. Thank you as well for watching. And see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.